Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the HERstory Collaborative. My name is Jen Buck, and I'm your host here in the collab. Now, this is part 2 of a series that we started last week, and it's with Toolika Rani, and she is the most extraordinary woman that I have met in a very long time, and I say that very, very seriously. Now, Toolika has a background that will absolutely blow your mind. Last week, we talked about her time in the military. Toolika spent time as an ex-Indian Air Force officer, and she is now transitioning into her story about being a mountaineer, and she's actually climbed 23 different peaks, and one of those being Everest. And so without further ado, I want to make sure that we jump right back into the story with Toolika so that she can tell us a little bit about how she went from the military and into, this incredible life of mountaineering. So Toolika, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here still.
Thank you, Jen. It's my pleasure to be back with you again and speaking to you. It's an absolute honor and pleasure.
Thank you. So, all right, when we ended the last episode, we were talking about how you were asked to be a part of this mountaineering squad, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so, what in the world must you have been thinking? Because that is, I know you liked being outdoors, but mountaineering is just so mammoth. That sounds a little cliche, but my gosh, how in the world did you wrap your
Yes.
brain around that?
Yeah, actually, I have always been a person who seeks out challenges because I feel that human life is all about dreams and a constant pursuit of those dreams. Because if we stop dreaming, we stop living because we stop progressing. So if we are fine with our comfort zone, I suppose we are not going to go anywhere from there. And that kind of a life where we are not constantly challenging ourselves is not living, it's rather being dead. So I have never been satisfied with that kind of a life. And after I joined Air Force, one dream was fulfilled. But then what? I was not content with only just that. And thereafter, this opportunity came in front of me. I volunteered for, first of all, I got into river rafting, and I did that in River Indus. That was my first break into adventure sports. That was really grand, rafting in Indus River, the very ancient, famous Indus River. And this is the river on which, after which the name India basically has been derived from. River Indus, that's in Jammu and Kashmir, in the northern part of India. So after that mountaineering, a signal came because when we are into forces, we have a directorate of adventure sports in the military forces, and it conducts various mountaineering or adventure courses. So a signal came to my unit also, and I just looked at it and I was like, great, this is where I can get closer to nature. I had no clue at that time as to what mountaineering or even trekking was. All I thought was that this would give me an opportunity to roam around in the woods. Though, how was I wrong? God, how wrong I was at that particular moment. I discovered it when I actually enrolled for the course and went to Darjeeling, that's in Northeast India. And when we were climbing, we were being trained. It felt that, God, what is this? It is torture because you are having 25 kgs weight on your back. You are just trudging for hours and hours without much breaks, without much food or water. So this was complete torture. And thereafter, I thought that perhaps I'm not made for this. This is not my cup of tea, despite being very, very physically fit, despite being a military officer already. But I realized later on that it is not about our physical fitness that decides our outcome in a particular work. It is about the aptitude.
Mhm.
So that particular time, I was not much aware as to what mountaineering would entail. And that is why I was not mentally prepared for it. But during my, again, I suppose destiny is also something. And it takes us into a direction where we are destined to move. So when I came back after my course, I decided that, okay, now this is the end to mountaineering because it is really torturous and I did not enjoy that slogging at all. I could not even look around and enjoy the beauty of nature because I was in so much of physical pain, just walking with this heavy load for hours and hours. What is this? But when Just that year itself, Indian Air Force conceived a plan to send its women officers to Mount Everest. And another signal came in our unit that must have gone to all the units, of course, uh, asking for volunteers to come for this selection procedure for Mount Everest. And the process was to be followed for 2 years. The team, which would be selected, would be trained for 2 years on various peaks in Himalayas to prepare it for the Mount Everest expedition in 2011. And I thought for a moment, already I had had an experience which I had not enjoyed, because what happened during my basic course was we were training on a glacier and suddenly snowfall started. That was the first snowfall of my life. But I witnessed it in such conditions where I was hungry already. We had been training on a glacier since morning. It was already afternoon. So all I could feel was hunger pangs and the exhaustion in my body. Then suddenly this heavy downpour of snow started and we had to go back. Now the tracks also got covered by snow. And on one side, there were huge mountains. The other side, there was a deep valley. Only a narrow, small path was there, which we had to follow. And that got covered by the snow. On that, to increase the difficulty, there were stones and everything. So I was in such a bad condition that I never knew where to step and what to do. And that is why I had felt that, okay, now this is the end of mountaineering. But when this signal came, what happens is when opportunities come in front of us, due to these fears or past experiences, sometimes we sit back and let them go, let them pass by us. But that is not what I have ever done in my life. So even if there is a possibility of me failing, I'm the kind of a person who jumps onto these opportunities. At the most, I would fail. So what? At the most, people would laugh at me. So what? Is there any person on this earth who has never failed in their life? There are people. Successful people of whoever we listen about, of whoever we read about, they have failed many times in their lives. So if everybody fails in their life, what is so big and so wrong about failing? Why shall we fear the failure? And that is why I decided to volunteer again for this expedition. And, and when I went on to my first expedition in Himalaya, to climb Mount Stoke Kangri, that is a peak 6121 meters high, that's 20,000 feet, I could actually reach the summit. And that was what changed my life.
Wow.
Because when we climbed for hours and hours again, and I pushed my boundaries, I realized that I had a hidden power within me, which I was not aware of. The same thing is achieved through meditation, through yoga. People who are into yoga and meditation, they can vouch for this, that we have a lot of power stored within our bodies, within our minds. And when we trigger the right points, we can experience this immense power. So I have experienced this power again and again during my mountaineering career, because when you push your limits, your body does wonders. It is all about the power of mind pushing your body. And you realize that you could have done even this arduous task, which you could have never imagined in the plains. And that's why I got addicted to this kind of a journey, not only outside on the slopes of mountains, but inside also.
Yeah.
That was the beauty of mountaineering, which made me addicted to it. Because
Yes.
every time I went to mountains and I saw a huge challenge in front of me, I knew that it is not going to be easy. Climbing a mountain, for that matter, any mountain in our life, be it in journalism, be it in public speaking, be it in writing, any mountain in our life, any task that is huge is not going to come easy or smooth or without challenges or hardships or failures. But we get into it knowing all that because we understand that we have the capacity to overcome all these challenges. And at the end of it, when we persist, and when we win, when we achieve that goal, it is going to give us a tremendous satisfaction. The satisfaction of having achieved that goal, of standing on the top of that particular mountain that we may have in our lives.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. It's such wisdom. Now, I know that you were able to get up your first mountain, but was it always something that came easily to you? Because you're someone who was always very physically fit. You were very comfortable in, nature and in the elements. And I know that you spoke about the snow, but did you find mountaineering to be something that came easily to you in your
No,
physical fitness process? Okay.
no. It is about, see, physical fitness is just a part of mountaineering. Mountaineering has a lot to do with enjoying those hardships that come on the mountains. So mountains would throw a lot of challenges on us. Snowfall, as I talked about it in the first experience, later on, I started loving snowfall. I still have those images of walking in the snowfall etched in my mind, where I have just loved doing that. And even if now today, when I'm in plains, I can close my eyes and experience that walking in the snow. So it did not come easy. Nothing in life is going to come easy. Mountaineering also, despite my physical fitness, was not a natural thing to happen to me. I would say that in contrast to me, in my team, there were other people who seemed natural climbers. They did not have to work as hard as I did on my physical fitness, and still they climbed faster than I did. So, what I did was, in such times, there is no comparison. This is another thing which I have learned from mountaineering, that in life, first thing, it is not a race. Second thing, it is not a comparison or competition with anybody, because we all have our own pace in life. That's what mountaineering has taught me. We climb at our own pace. We neither slow it down, we nor try to make it faster, because doing both, you cannot go very long and very far. If you have to sustain yourself, you have to find your pace in life, whatever you are doing. So try to understand your body, your mind, and yourself, because we are individual, unique beings. We cannot be someone else cannot be us. And that is what I learned. So I found that my pace was not very fast in comparison to my teammates. Some of them really walked fast, some of them walked slower than I did. So I fell somewhere in the middle, but I had to cover that ground within a particular time. So I tried to assess my strength. I could not go very fast, but I could go for long hours. I had a long endurance, deep endurance within me. So I tried to elongate my strides. So with my endurance and longer strides, now I could cover that ground within considerable time. So this is what I would advise to everybody else there. Try to find out your unique strengths. And that is what is going to make you competitive also, make you win that race, if you would like to say it, but that kind of dream that you're chasing, you're pursuing, I suppose that is good enough. Our own weaknesses and our own strength, we have to be aware of ourselves. So this is what I did. During my second expedition, I could not reach the top again. The third expedition to Mount Kamet. Mount Kamet is the first highest peak open in India to climb, and the third highest peak in terms of altitude in India. It is a technical peak and 7,000 meters high. So that was our third expedition, and I had really worked very hard on my physical as well as mental aptitude. So this time we were very close to the summit, and I was really excited that next morning we are going to climb up to the summit camp. Then the same night we are going to climb to the summit. So it is just a matter of one day and one night between we and the summit. And we were really all very fit. But what happens is sometimes life has lessons to teach us. And lessons come through failures. Lessons also come in terms of accepting as to what life and God want to teach us. So at that moment, that night, we did not sleep in excitement, and we thought that we were really going up and going to make it to the top. But the morning brought another news, and weather turned bad. The leader advised us to go back down. So when we winded up our camp and started going down, a snow blizzard started, and we had to spend 6 long hours in the snow blizzard, snow whirling from all sides upon us. I saw a person in front of me, and I was terrified to see him because he was all covered by snow. His rucksack, his mustache, his head, everything was covered by snow. And same would have been the scene with me because I could not see myself. So I would have been in the same condition. And we were traversing on the mountain. I kept falling and rising, kept falling and rising, kept falling and rising. There came a moment when the struggle became so much, my fingers were freezing, There was snow whirling from all the sides. It was really, really cold, and a great wind was blowing. So there came a moment when my mind said that perhaps now you should unclip yourself from the rope and fall down beneath the valley. That's going to be much more easier than this constant struggle on each step.
Wow.
And at that moment, I discovered something within me. This reserve strength again. When we are in these kind of life and death situations, the survival situations, again, I don't know from where this strength comes in us to fight and to just stick. So there's this poem by Rudyard Kipling, If, and the lines that if everything is broken all around you and your sinews and everything is just gone numb, if there is this little voice in your head which says, hold on, that one word, hold on, it saved my life that day because I just held on. I remembered this and I held on. So I would advise everybody to fill our minds and our hearts and soul with positive thoughts every day. Read good things. Because I used to read all these things. It springs up sometimes when we are in the adversity, it springs up from within like a fountain and it gives us strength. So yes, that was about the third expedition. On fourth expedition to Mount Sasir Kangri in Leh Ladakh again, we made two attempts to climb this peak and we could not climb it again because weather turned bad. Winds were so high, perhaps 120 kilometers per hour were the winds predicted by the Met department, and it tore out the outer of our tent. We sat holding the tent poles from inside so that the wind does not blow us away with the tent itself and does not throw us off the cliff.
Oh my
So
God.
that was the moment, and we were just at the summit camp, just below the top of the mountain. Again, it was a situation that between us and the top, it was one climb only, but we had to come back down. It taught me a lot of lessons in life. It taught me lessons that every time we are not going to make it to the top, and we do not have to take it to heart because it has given us experience. So these four expeditions prior to Everest gave us a lot of experience in terms of mountaineering as well as our mental fitness, because these kind of challenges were going to come to us on Mount Everest also. Then finally, the Mount Everest expedition in 2011 happened. The Air Force team went on to climb Mount Everest via Kathmandu. And again, I was really fit, I would say. This time I was mentally also in a much better space. And everybody thought that perhaps I would be able to climb with my other teammates. But this time also, I could not climb. You were asking about mountaineering came naturally to me. No, it did not come naturally to me. It came with a lot of hard work. So Mount Everest expedition, despite our 2 years of training on 4 Himalayan peaks, also in Siachen Glacier, which is the highest battlefield in the world, unfortunately, and the coldest place in South Asia. Our team was trained in Siachen Glacier twice in the month of January, the coldest month again, to give us a lot of exposure on the ice walls. Despite all this, I failed on Mount Everest in 2011, and I had to return from more than halfway up. So what happened was that I tried to justify my failure, and all of us do that.
Yeah.
Because we are human beings and we have an ego and we live with a self-image. We cannot fall. See, we are something. We have this self-image. But when we are defeated, our ego does not want to accept it that we were the ones who were lacking in something. So what happened again? My mother came in the picture here. I came back down and I told everybody that, okay, my fingers were freezing and I tried to warm them up and nothing happened. So I had to return from there. But my mom said that, no, do not give me excuses. You were a coward. And this word coward is not easy to take for anybody, that too from a person who is the closest to you, who knows you inside out. And for me, I was already an Air Force officer, a military officer with a considerable fitness, with 4 peaks done on Himalayas. So I did not take it very nicely. I sat down, but I sat down. I did not answer her back because she's one person who, if she says something about me, I give it a thought. And we all shall have that one person, at least in our lives, to whom we listen. on whose words we ponder sincerely and look within. So when I did that, I found that yes, she was right. I was afraid. Despite being a military officer and fit, I was afraid. Because fear is a very natural phenomenon in all of us. All living beings are afraid of failure and injury. And so was I. So this turned my personality upside down again. That was the beginning of a new dawn in my life because she had pinpointed that particular block within me which had obstructed my path not only in mountaineering but perhaps in many other spheres of my life. And when I could find out that yes, when I accepted this weakness, because this is also what I have observed in some people, even if somebody points out our weakness and somebody really close to us, we do not accept it. And this blockage is the biggest blockage, I suppose, on the path of progress and improvement. We have to accept that we are human beings, we have flaws in our personality, and there is a scope to improve. So, thereafter, I did my training, not only physical, but mental, emotional, psychological. And that showed results in my next expedition to Mount Everest, which I undertook in my individual capacity with my own expenditure, with my own leave, and in 2012, I could succeed in climbing Mount Everest. It was again not without being eventful. A lot of events happened, but I could conquer myself and climb the Everest.
Just remarkable. I swear it's like a religious experience when I'm listening to you. Like, I just can't get enough of you. And I am so moved by your words, your energy, your experience. And there are so many analogies that we can use for everything that you've gone through, when it comes to our own lives, when it comes to things that may seem small, whatever's happening in our business or whatever's happening in our family or whatever's happening in our community. And when you start to use the same analogies, they all fit. Get your mind clear, have a plan, be resilient, have people who believe in you to support you, know where you're headed and what your goal is. I mean, it's all there, whether you're talking Mount Everest or you're talking about things that you're doing, within your home. And I just think that you are such a gift, Toolika, and I'm so grateful for you. And I hope that every door opens up for you. I feel like the whole world needs to hear you and to understand the depth of who you are and what you bring. You're just a gift. And I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You
I
are.
just want to be worthy of being a human being because this human life has been endowed to us. We are blessed with human life. When I look at trees, when I look at birds, when I look at animals, they are not as endowed as we are with natural gifts. We can speak, we can communicate, they can also communicate, but we have more power somewhere than them. So it becomes our responsibility to not just exploit this gift, but utilize it in constructive ways. The way you are doing, being a speaker. No, words can heal, words can inspire, words can motivate. I'm a history student, and I have learned from history this thing that any revolution, any social, political, economic change, it has always been preceded by ideas, thoughts. Any great invention in the human history had originated in the mind. A thought, an idea has immense power. So you are doing it through your words. I am doing it in my actions. As a public speaker, as a writer, I'm doing this. Because what I found was when I was a teenager, I used to be this turbulent one inside my mind because I was always questioning the societal norms. And I questioned the relationship of individual with society. What is the place of an individual in society? Do we completely fit into the societal norms, or do we have the right to somewhere deviate from them? What will happen if we deviate from them? All the great people have at certain point of times deviated from these social norms, and that is why they became great. So if we continue following the molds, can we create something more progressive and something better, something new? These were the kinds of thoughts which used to whirl in my mind day and night. And then somebody gifted me a book by Ayn Rand. The book was We the People. So she wrote about Russian situations during communism. And that was a beautiful background, plus a beautiful depiction of human versus society. After that one book, I went on to read many books written by her. One was The Fountainhead, another was Atlas Shrugged. And these books really formed my perception of individuals' relationship with the society. We cannot live without a society. But do we have to follow everything that has been set as a precedent before us? What are the limits and what are the conditions upon which we can deviate from these the norms and rules? So these kind of things, I suppose, words can heal you, words can also calm you down. So at that particular moment when nobody was answering and I was always searching for these answers to these questions, this book and this one writer, though she was not living at that moment, her physical body had left this world way back, but her ideas and her thoughts were living. And they consoled and they formed the personality of a girl who would perhaps later on do something good for the society. So that's what I suppose we shall do with our human lives. Not only be individuals, but be a part of this bigger entity that is called universe. Not only connect with human beings, but connect with every living and non-living thing, entity in this universe. Have an awareness as to where our place is in this world. Are we actually that big that we perceive ourselves? I have learned from mountains that we are not that big. When you stand in front of a huge mountain, we look like a speck of dust. So that means we are this small. Winds can throw us off a cliff. Snow avalanche can bury us. So natural elements can just wash us off this face of the earth in a moment. But on the other hand, are we so small? We have a power. We have a big, huge power because we are the part of this universe again. So, human beings, one person, we have the examples in history. Mahatma Gandhi, I really admire this one person. There have been great leaders like Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln. Power of one person is so huge, so large. Rousseau, he gave democratic ideas at that particular time when nobody could have imagined monarchy was the rule of the time. So one person has so much of power to bring positive, constructive change. So we have to put our place in perspective in this system of life. So that's what I suppose. I am on a mission of self-discovery. I discover myself, start with myself, and I radiate this energy further. This is what we do during yoga and meditation. This is what is the crux of the entire Indian philosophy. I speak on one concept called Aham Brahmasmi. That is the core, that is the gist of entire Indian Upanishads. Aham Brahmasmi, I am the universe. So everything starts at me, good and bad. It is up to me to utilize that power in a constructive way.
Oh, you move me, my new friend. You move me. Oh, you are just such a remarkable human being. And I am so incredibly grateful that you spent this time. I know it was longer than normal than, we had originally talked about with having a one-part, interview, but now we've made it into two. And I am just so impressed with you. I have such emotion for the words you speak, for who you are, for what you've done, for who you're impacting. And I just want to make sure that for anyone tuning in, they have a way to connect with you, because I know how I'm feeling. And I know that anyone who's tuning in is having the same overwhelming feeling. Can you tell the people tuning in where they can find you?
Yes, on Instagram, my handle is Toolika _14, TOOLIKA _1414. I'm on LinkedIn with the name Squadron Leader Toolika Rani, as well as my email ID is TULICH83. That's Tango Uniform Lima India Charlie Hotel 8383 @gmail.com. So you can approach me anytime on these platforms. And I would be really happy to connect with all the people in this world who would want to vibrate on the same frequency.
I love it. Yes, 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 yes. And I definitely want to stay connected to you. I'm just gushing. Now I'm gushing. And I just really am so grateful for you. And before we go, I want to make sure that I give a very special shout out and thanks to our podcast, to our podcast sponsor, which is 100 Angels. 100 Angels is transforming communities through service and education by providing comfort to populations in need through physical, emotional, and spiritual care. So if you'd like to get in touch with 100 Angels, you can find them at 100 Angels, spelled out each word, 100angels.org. Again, Toolika Rani, you are magic, my friend. Thank you for being here.
It was really wonderful talking to you, Jen. I have found another friend, and that's the beauty of this life. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
Namaste.
You are welcome. And thank you to everyone tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Namaste from India.